What's up, guys? Welcome back to the pond. This is Maya. If you haven't yet, please like, comment, and subscribe. All that helps me a ton trying to build this channel up. Today, we're taking a look at what it takes for me to keep this pond up and running. We're doing a filter backwash, and we are also doing a water change. I just want to give you a window into what it looks like to keep this pond running. I do this about once a week. It usually takes me about 45 minutes or so. Good news for you, we have editing, so it's not going to take nearly that long. Thanks. So, quick filter pit overview. There's a couple main components in the filter pit. I'm going to go over them with you right now. So, the main components are, we have the skimmer. Down here, you'll see this is the Easy Pod. This is the main filter. Then we have the moving bed. We have the pump, we have the air pump, and then down here on the wall, we have the UV. So the water flow comes from the skimmer line down straight into here, and it meets up with, if you can see where the air is coming out in the middle there, below that is the bottom drain. The bottom drain runs under the pond and is teed in with the skimmer line. That valve directly above that T is the first thing I close when I go to do a water change. What that does is it isolates the filter pit from the pond. That way none of the dirty water can make it back into the pond while I'm doing the water change. Once the water flows up from there, it then goes into the filter. This is an Easy Pod filter, so the outside acts as a vortex, which traps all the large debris, and then the water gets pulled through this media, which is called K1, which traps the smaller debris, and then it gets pulled into this center chamber, which then goes straight down out this pipe and up into the moving bed. The moving bed is another K1 media, and what that does is it's constantly tumbling like this so that dead bacteria can fall off and healthy bacteria can hang on to it. It allows a lot of surface area for the healthy bacteria to complete the nitrate cycle. Once it leaves the moving bed, it then goes into the pump. The pump then pumps it straight out, down here, and up and through this UV. Once it leaves the UV, it goes back down under the pump. There's a T. One goes next to the pond to a TPR, which is a in the wall return at the far end. The other one comes here. There's another T which goes to the back of the waterfall, and then another in the wall return directly behind the Easy Pod. This is the air pump, and what that does is it supplies air to the bottom drain and to the moving bed. And then I also have a little switch or a little valve here that when I go to clean the pond, I redirect the air to the Easy Pod, which then boils that K1 media and knocks off all the debris. I know it's a little confusing. If you have questions, if you want to know more about it, anything at all, please comment down below. I love to interact with you guys, so let me know if you have any questions. What we do is we put in this standpipe in the center of the Easy Pod. So all that is there's an opening down there that this pipe fits snugly into. So by putting that in, what it does is it traps all the water, so the water cannot go back into the pond, and it also cannot leave the Easy Pod and travel into the moving bed filter. That way, once I start the backwash cycle, all the dirt, all the debris will stay in there until I open up the valve to release it. Next, we turn on the air supply to the Easy Pod. This is what moves the K1 around and allows it to knock off the fish waste and debris. So all I do, we turn this little air valve here, and as you can see, this black line here, this is hooked up to the air pump. It just comes straight over up into here. I open up the valve, that comes straight over to the Easy Pod, and then I'm able to turn this. And as you can see, that starts to supply the air to the Easy Pod, which then, as you can see how dirty this water is, that's just 1 week's worth of waste. But it starts to boil and move the K1, which will knock off all that fish poop, all that gross, nasty waste. That way we can get it out of the pond. What I typically like to do while the Easy Pod is backwashing, or while the K1 is boiling, is I'll pop the top off of this skimmer. We then take out this basket, dump all the debris, and rinse it and put it back in. I typically will let this K1 material boil for about 2 to 3 minutes or so. After I feel like it's been boiling for a little while, what you do is you open up this little waste valve here, which I then have connected to a pump, which then just runs straight out into my garden. And all we do is we plug that pump in, and it will begin to suck out the waste. There it goes. And as you can see, the water level begins to drop, and all that gross waste is just getting sucked straight up out and out into the garden. So real quick, while I have the air turned off in the pond, I just want to give you a little update on the fish. Everyone is doing super well. They're growing like crazy. It's summer down here, so it's super, super hot. I've been able to feed quite a bit. I did forget to mention earlier, sometimes when it's summer, I'll typically end up doing the pond backwash and water change probably about twice a week instead of once, just because it's so hot and I'm feeding them so much. It does accumulate waste a lot faster. So let me give you a quick update on the fish. Sorry about the glare, but as you can see, the bottom drain is turned off, which then gives me a little bit better view of the fish here. They are all growing super, super well. They're huge. Their colors look great. The two small ones, the two smallest ones, have really started to pack on some weight, which is great because it's summertime, and I think in the past probably 4 or 5 months, they've probably put on 7 inches or so. So they're growing like crazy. Sorry about the glare, it's super bright outside. But that's it. I just have those 7, as you remember from the last video, which if you haven't seen it yet, please go watch that, like that video. But in the last video you saw, I sold 3 of my fish just to be able to kind of cut down on how many fish I have. I was getting a little overstocked, and with these little ones starting to grow a lot faster, they're gonna start to grow a ton here shortly. So I really wanted to be careful that my pond wasn't gonna be too overstocked. So been boiling for about 2 to 3 minutes or so. All we're gonna do is we're gonna open up this waste valve here, and then we're gonna go and plug it back in. And there you can see the water starts to come back out, and it'll begin to drain again. So once the filter has been backwashed twice, and the water is totally clear down there, all the waste and debris is gone from the bottom. Now you can see how clear and nice this water is. What I'll do is I'll open back up the bottom drain and the skimmer line, let it refill, and then I let this pump right here that's connected to the waste drain, which that's the inlet down there, I let that run for another probably 2 or 3 minutes. And what that does is it lets anything that could still be in the chamber, it lets it settle down to the bottom and then get sucked out. While that's running, what I do is after I've already rinsed and cleaned out my basket, I'll go ahead and reinstall that, and then I can close the top of the skimmer. After this pump ran for a couple more minutes just to be able to clean out the bottom of this, what I'll do is I'll remove this standpipe, and what that does is once I plug back in the actual filter, sorry, this thing is stuck. Once I plug back in the actual filter, that allows the water to travel then back down through there, through the rest of the filtration, and back out into the pond. As you can tell, the water has dropped some, which is what's giving me the water change. So then I hook up the hose. I have the hose hooked up to like a little carbon filter, and what that does is it helps to remove any of the chlorine or ammonia that might be in the tap water. So then add prime to the water, which is a dechlorinator and will protect the fish. And now we just sit back and wait while the pond refills. The pond is now filled, cleaned. We're good for another week. Thank you again for hanging out. If you have any questions or just want to know more about the filter system, anything at all, once again, please comment down below. I'm happy to answer any sort of questions. Again, if you haven't liked, subscribed, please hit that button. If you like koi fish, if you like me, if you like anything at all, look at this little guy. He's hungry. Ah! Anyway, hopefully I'll see you again. Thanks.